Rocking out. Just rocking out. Hey, everybody. Welcome to number 82, the SongBike Guitar Q&A live stream right here on YouTube. Hey, hope you had a great week. I had a pretty good week. Bruce got his SongBike t-shirt yesterday. And William, I know you got your SongBike t-shirt. You guys, I want to say thank you for shopping, getting some merch. And Bruce, you sent a picture. I got it. It looks great, man. Bruce and Byron all the way from Sydney, Australia. It makes my day, makes my week. We'll talk more about SongBike merch, but let's get to you. How are you doing? I hope you had a great time playing the guitar this week. I have plenty going on here on my live stream agenda. I'm here for your questions. Ask me a question. Don't be shy. In between your questions, I have stuff. I have stuff. You ready? Why I watch your feet. Curious? Yeah, I watch your feet. I do. When you do an in-person lesson with me and I have access to your feet, I watch your feet. I'll tell you why. I got a fuzz pedal. For fun, stick around because I'm going to show you how the fuzz pedal sounds different than a distortion pedal. You're going to hear a little difference if I do my job right. I'm going to teach you a lesson you never forget. A common chord progression, actually two common minor key chord progressions. We're going to play the chords. We're going to talk about what makes them different, and I'm going to challenge you to transpose them to a different key. It's going to be easier than you think. What else? As promised, if you're curious, we're going to run through my least popular YouTube song instructional videos. Last week we did the top 11 actually, most popular. This week is the top 10 least popular. Why not? Just for fun. I have a student quote of the week for you. I have my own dumb question of the week. I have another list of products that were offered to me to sell to you. Should I sell out? No, we'll see. I want to talk a little bit about the musicians behind the new Bob Dylan movie and talk a little bit about Timothee Chalamet and how he got the gig. Who's in town? We have a very cool performer playing across the street at the theater this week. And so I want to share his info with you. What else? We got the Grammy Awards coming up. Anybody watch the Norman's Rare Guitars Netflix documentary? I still haven't watched the second half. I watched the first half of it on Netflix. I enjoyed it very much. I just never got around to watching the second half. Of course, we have a play-along song of the week. Can't wait to show it to you. It's one of my personal favorites, although they're all my personal favorites. But so those are just some of the topics that I have a feeling we'll get to this week on our show. Number 82. I know a lot of you have been here for many, either live like you are right now, or those of you who watch these live streams a little bit later. I know a lot of you have seen many of these. I'm going to say a few hellos. Wingo from Wales, hello. Bruce and Byron from Sydney, hey, you guys. Randy, you sent me such a nice note about how you enjoy these live streams, and that meant a lot to me. So thank you, Randy, for sending me that note. I read it, and I appreciate it very much. Matt Delahunt, hello. William, Scott from snowy Utah. Christian, all the way from Denmark. Hey, Christian. Did we have a poll? How could I forget? We have a poll question up and running. And the poll question ties in with my own dumb question of the week. The poll question for this week's live stream is playing the guitar relaxing for you, right? Music is supposed to be relaxing, supposed to be good for your brain. Is it? In your experience? Answers include no, playing the guitar is hard and I get stressed out. Or yes, it helps me mentally. Third answer, it depends how hard the song is. And of course, other. So jump in on that poll question. And like I said, it's going to tie in with my own dumb question of the week. Hey, DAC Poet is here. Charlie Beagle is here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. So lots to do today. Don't forget, I'm here for your questions. When you ask a question, put a bunch of question marks in advance. For example, your question might be, okay, Jonathan, I'll bite. What is this minor key chord progression you're talking about? Well, I will show you. I'm aware that when I share a screen with you guys, I'm aware that sometimes your screen goes black for a moment and you got to be patient, I understand, and wait for it to pop up. So that's what I'm doing right now. If your screen goes black, don't worry. All shall be revealed. But let's get right into this. I'm going to teach you a lesson you'll never forget. What we have here on my screen, and hopefully on your screen very soon, is the minor chord progression, the chord progression to end all minor chord progressions. And we have, Wingo from Illinois, sorry. Who's from, Winston. Winston is from Wales. Sorry, Wingo from Illinois. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. Okay, so here's a lesson you'll never forget. The minor chord progression. We're doing it in the key of A minor to G to F, and very often back to G again. That last G is kind of an optional thing, but the first time I remember playing this specific minor chord progression, it definitely had that G at the end. A minor to G to F, back to G. Okay, A minor, G, F, probably back to G, and then the whole thing circles around. So what's going on there? We're in the key of A minor. The chord progression is connected to, based on the A natural minor scale. See that scale right there? Doesn't that scale look beautiful? It's the alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G with one more A at the end. You can see why teachers like me would choose to teach this particular chord progression specifically in the key of A minor. In a minute, I'm going to challenge you to transpose this to the key of E minor. So those of you who like this kind of challenge, start thinking about how this, what this chord progression would be in the key of E minor. Okay, so starting now, I would like you to completely intertwine the concept of scales and chords. Scales and chords, it all goes together. One way to explain how they go together is chords are groups of notes that come out of a scale. For instance, that A minor chord that we're talking about here contains 3 notes from that A natural minor scale, the notes A, C, and E. Now, don't worry, no quiz. You do not have to memorize what I'm saying right here. I just want you to know that scales and chords are connected. And for our purposes right now, we're starting with this concept of the A minor scale. And from that A minor scale, we are extracting a few notes at a time to make those major and minor chords up above. The G major chord, the notes G, B, and D. The F major chord, the notes F, A, and C. No matter what, the A minor, G, and F chords are made up of notes from the A natural minor scale. Before we go down to the second half of the page, I want to give you a reference point, All Along the Watchtower by Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix. In the, I'll do it right now. I'm going to put a link in the chat right now to whose video? My video on, here we go, on All Along the Watchtower, because that, I think that was my number one page. There we go. My number one first time knowingly doing this chord progression. I believe Bob Dylan is capoed up when he did his original version of All Along the Watchtower. I think he's capoed up at 4. A minor, G, F, G, A minor, G, F. There must be some way out of here, said the joker to the thief. And that G happens very, very briefly. It's a very, very small moment on that G compared to how long you're on the A minor and F. I highly recommend checking out my video and hopefully anyone's video on All Along the Watchtower, because it's a great song, but also a great learning tool, because it's fun to see how Jimi Hendrix changed it. My video covers both. Hopefully any video you ever watch covers both versions of All Along the Watchtower. Jimi Hendrix's version is in a different key and does not need a capo. And also he's not relying purely on the cowboy chords like Bob Dylan's original version did. Okay, so John says, good song. Yeah, John, I think so too. Thank you. It's a great song, right? So that is such a common chord progression. A minor to G to F back to G. It shows up in so many songs. In All Along the Watchtower, the original version, that's it. That's the whole song right there. And again, it's capoed up, I think, either at the 3rd or 4th fret. In other songs, it simply shows up maybe it's the chorus, maybe it's the verse, maybe it's a part of the song, but you can't escape that chord progression. And some of you right now are already thinking of songs that you've learned that have that chord progression. I'm not talking about just those three chords. I'm talking about specifically A minor to G to F, perhaps back to G before the whole thing loops around. I'm talking about that specific thing. It's so common. So don't forget, in a minute, I'm going to ask who knows what that chord progression would be in the key of E minor. For instance, the first chord would be E minor instead of A minor. So I'm asking you, what would the second chord be? What would the third chord be in the key of E minor? If you know it, go ahead and put it in the chat right now. Okay, the second one down, instead of talking so much, I'm just going to play that second one. It looks the same until you get to the end. Okay, A minor to G to F to E7, total game changer, 100%. That has been used in so many songs. To me, it has this Spanish flamenco guitar kind of sound because it's a classic chord progression that comes out of that tradition. Okay, the fact that the last chord is different in E7, total game changer. Why? Because E7 has a G sharp in it. The A natural minor scale does not have a G sharp in it, but the A harmonic minor scale does specifically have that G sharp. So you could say that chord progression, A minor, G, F, E7, is based on the A harmonic minor scale. No big deal. And again, you don't have to memorize all this stuff. But since undoubtedly many of you are familiar with that sound of that A minor, G, F, E7 chord progression. You've heard it in so many songs. I figured, number one, we should review it to make sure you're good with it. Number two, for kicks, talk about where it came from. Now you know it came from the A harmonic minor scale, all because of that G sharp, because the E7 chord is a game changer. That song Smooth, good old Santana and Rob Thomas. I'm going to put a link to the tab for Smooth. I actually never made a video on Smooth myself. You guys know what I'm talking about? That song Smooth from, when was that from? The late 90s? I don't know. Okay, I'll put this in the description of the live stream as well, but in the chat, I just put a link to Ultimate Guitar's tab, the chord specifically for Smooth. Interestingly, that song Smooth, if that tab is accurate, it doesn't actually have the G chord. It does the A minor to the F to the E7. But it's based on that chord progression, right? They just happen to do a little skip over that G. Okay, so there you go. Oh, by the way, here's a practical reason to be aware of what scale a chord progression is based on, because you want to play a solo, right? You want to play a solo on top of the song. Well, if you want to solo on top of Smooth, for example, you'd use that A harmonic minor scale. But if you want to solo on top of Bob Dylan's original version of All on the Watchtower, you'd want to use the A natural minor scale, with the notion that you'd still have to be capoed up a third or fourth fret, wherever, but you get what I'm saying though, right? If you know what scale the chords are coming from, you also know what scale to use for improvising a lead guitar solo. There you go. Music fan said it sounds like House of the Rising Sun. It does, because House of the Rising Sun, it has A minors and G's and F's, but specifically, eventually, you get to that. You eventually get to that E7, right? You eventually get to that E7 in House of the Rising Sun. So yeah, you could say House of the Rising Sun is a quirky tune, man. A minor to C to D, right? It's got that D to F. That freaked me out, man. I remember freshman year of college, since you asked. when did it first freak me out? Freshman year of college, I watched this kid play it on the piano. And I think he just told me the names of the chords. And I was so focused on diatonic chords, meaning your you're in the key of C and you only play chords that are based on the C major scale and there's no exceptions. And House of the Rising Sun, I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that it went from A minor to C to D major. No, I knew just enough music theory to get in trouble, to be freaked out by anything that didn't fit my little worldview. Caddis is in the chat. RB, hello. Thank you for being here in the chat. Music Fan, by the way, is one of our moderators. Thank you for being here, Music Fan. And I'll see you later. Music Fan is the moderator I am married to. Okay, so I see some other questions coming in. Excellent. We'll get to those. In a minute, I see Randy, you got the right answer for transposing this. If you're in the chat, look at Randy's answer in the chat. If you wanted to use this chord progression, but say write a song maybe in a different key, or if you're just curious what it would be, look, we're going to go back to the top of the page of the A minor G F business. If the first chord is an E minor instead, the second chord would be D like Delta, and the third chord would be C like Charlie. E minor to D to C, maybe back to D again. Okay, now for extra credit, let's transpose the second chord progression. We know A minor is E minor, got it. We know the G turns to a D instead, got it. The F turns into a C, got it. Okay, so we have E minor to D to C for 1,000 points, 2 gold stars, and the keys to some vehicle. What would the final chord be? E minor to D to C to, I know you can't see my left hand, so I'm going to play the chord. Randy, ding, ding, ding. B7, B like Bravo, okay? So I'll say the whole chord progression. E minor to D delta, C Charlie, B7, B Bravo, okay? By the way, another reason to learn either of these in a different key, some of you might not love the F chord. No worries. That's why you learn a different key, right? So hey, you could write a song with this whole vibe, whether it's that top vibe or the bottom harmonic minor vibe. Go ahead and write a song and avoid an F chord. It's your song. You don't have to play an F chord if you don't want to. So change the whole thing to the key of E minor instead of the key of A minor. And you are probably equally likely to see this chord progression out there in the real world. You're as likely to see it in A minor as I've presented it as you are in E minor. I think both of those are good. RB, you got the answer there. B7, excellent. Caddis, yes, I'm reading your comment on this, Caddis. Caddis says, it's the fact that the E is a major chord, not that it's a dominant chord. Yeah, you're exactly right. Although I made it a dominant chord because it has that much more flavor, but you're right. So remember I said the fact that it's an E7 chord, E7 contains a G sharp, and that's a big game changer. To confirm what Caddis is saying, even if it was just a regular E major, it would still have that G sharp, 100%. You got it. I made it a D7. I added, essentially, a seventh chord, a dominant 7th chord, is a major chord with one more note added on. It's a 4-note chord rather than a 3-note chord. So I made it E7 because it has that much more drama to it, that much more tension. 7th chords just have more tension than majors and minors. So, but Caddis, you're 100% right. So even if that E7 was just an E major, everything else would still be the same. It would still be based on the A harmonic minor scale. Okay, so you guys good with that? I know I keep saying that you don't have to remember all this. There's not any big quiz. Although it'd be kind of cool if you did remember it, At a minimum, those of you who are songwriters, go ahead and write a song using the A minor G F G or the A minor G F E7, right? You're going to get 2 different songs because they have just different vibes, or put it in the key of E minor, whether it's to avoid the F chord or just because maybe you have a melodic idea that sounds better in the key of E minor. Why not? E minor D C D or E minor D C B7. Notice how we're kind of going back. We are going backwards in the alphabet. Either one of those chord progressions, we're going backwards in the musical alphabet. A minor, A, back to G, back to F, and the bottom one keeps on going even further down the alphabet, E7. Okay, you guys good with that? Write those songs. If you are not so inclined to write tunes, then simply keep your eyes open for these chord progressions out there. RB says, why is F such a big problem? No, it's not a problem at all, right? Piece of cake. Here's, as a teacher, if I have a student, or when I have a student who's not quite there on F, I might have a concept that I still want to get across, and or a skill or technique or something I want to get across. And we don't have to wait necessarily for the student to master the F chord if there's another way to get the same concept across. Val says it sounds like Havana. Yeah, remember we did that song in the one of our virtual play-alongs? Okay, you guys, I'm going to take away the sharing here. Stop sharing. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so now I see the questions coming in. Bear with me, you guys. Okay, Caddis, it was your question. Okay, Caddis says, what's the right way to practice a scale with the tonic far from the E note? Using a pattern. The right way to practice a scale. I'm reading a question. Your question is, what's the right way to practice the scale with the tonic far from the E note, using a pattern around the corresponding bar chord? But a D scale can also be played with using open strings. You're saying so many good things. Before I answer your primary question, if and when you're capable of playing a certain bar chord, I'm going to do an A major bar chord here, based at the 5th fret. If you're capable of combining the bar chord or the image of the bar chord with the scale that's relevant, let's say it's an A major bar chord and an A major scale. If you can put those two things together, if you know how to play an A major scale up at the 5th, 6th, 7th, in that ballpark right there, and you know the A major bar chord is right there too, that's awesome. So if you're capable of that, we all should be capable of that. I highly encourage you to do that. We could even do a lesson about that. Maybe now should be the time. Combining chords and scales. Okay. And the second part, you said the D scale can also be, yeah. So any scale can be played using open strings as long as the scale contains one of the open string notes, right? Is there, we have our Eddie 8 Dynamite, Goodbye Eddie, right? Those are the names of our open strings. Is there a scale out there that does not contain any of the notes, E, A, D, G, or B? Yes, definitely. I mean, we could, find a scale that doesn't use that. So in that case, that would be an example of a scale you could not play with open strings because those notes are off limits. So any scale can be played with open strings in general, as long as it has one of those notes. You might not start, like an E scale, you could start on the E string, right? But there's no F string. So any way you play any F scale up and down the neck, you gotta use your finger to find the F first, and then you could play the scale, right? The first note would be a fretted note. So when you say the tonic far from the E note, so I think you're talking about, like, if I'm going to use the skinny E string or the fat E string, use the fat E string as an example. If the first note, the tonic, the root note of the scale, is not the open E note, like that A I talked about, yeah, you'd have to find that tonic note, for example, on the 6th string. Let's say you want to do a scale that's based on the fat 6th string. Then you have to find that note on the 6th string, and you'd have to build a scale. Let's just jump in and do it. This will not take very long because you guys are smart. I'm going to connect that A major scale with the A major bar chord. So I'm going to focus at the moment 3. Do I want to do? Okay, I'm going to do a 6-string scale, 2 octaves. I'm going to go slowly. This is the kind of thing that I will put in the description of this video when I post it, or when I do the timestamp tomorrow. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 2 pieces of crucial information, and then I'll connect it to the bar chord. Here are the two pieces of crucial information. I'm going to keep my fretting hand in 4th position. My index finger is going to play the 4th fret on any string whenever I need the 4th fret. Middle finger is going to play all the 5s, ring on the 6s, and pinkies on the 7s. And I'm never going to vary from that. Okay, so my left hand would be described as being in 4th position, 4s, 5s, 6s, and 7s. Keep your hand that way. If that's tricky for you to be disciplined and not like reach up with a finger to get a higher note just because your ring finger wants to reach up, now is the time to get the discipline. Okay, that's the first piece of information. Strictly 4th position. And the second piece of information is which fret on which string. I'm just going to call it the fret numbers, okay? I'm not going to tell you which finger to use because you should know which finger to use now. Okay, so fat E string, 5-7. A string, 4-5-7. D string, 4-6-7. That's the first octave. I'm going to start the second octave on that pinky note, 7 on the D string. Okay. On the third string, 4-6-7. That's convenient because we just did 4-6-7 on the D string. Second string, B string, 5-7. Easy, skinny E string, 4-5. From the fat string, 5-7, 4-5-7, 4-6-7, 4-6-7, 5-7, 4-5. If you want a bonus note, 7 on that skinny E string, that would be the next note if we're going to keep going higher and higher past the second octave point. When I say octave point, it just means the A. We're doing an A major scale. We start in 1A. When we get to the next A, that's 1 octave. We played 8 notes. When we get to the next A, that's the second octave, and so on. Okay, so your job is to play that scale and connect it mentally, physically with the A major bar chord, right? Bar at 5th fret. Now, by the way, it doesn't matter how good you are at bar chords. You don't even have to be good at this bar chord. The starting point is knowing that it's there and that bar chord uses a bunch of the same notes you just played. So bar at 5 with my index. Remember, good tip for bar chords, roll that finger onto the edge of that finger. You're going to feel your left elbow come in towards the guitar. Overextend your index finger past the fat string. That has worked very well for me. Middle finger, 3rd string, 6th fret. Pinky, 4th string, 7. Ring finger, 5th string, 7. What you could do, especially if you are okay with bar chords, you could make up a little exercise where you play a few notes from the scale and then hit the bar chord. Okay, just make it a game. You know, hop back and forth between the scale and the chord. If you're not great at bar chords, don't worry about it. Again, this is more of a connection that we're making rather than some specific beautiful song or something. Okay, so Caddis, I hope that helps. Okay, Caddis, I'm reading. Well, Caddis says, so you're saying that playing the notes on the fattest string is what should be done. It's a great way to start. It's a great way to start for lots of reasons. Number one, we should all know the names of the notes on your fat E string. That's just if you're so inclined to memorize stuff, that's a great thing to memorize. Secondly, anyone who can play the scale, even the first half, if you can play the 1 octave, then you have room to go on to the next octave. Why not? It's sort of it, because doing that much on the first 3 strings, it kind of like, it's great, but don't you kind of want to keep going? So there's like a little motivation to keep on going onto the skinny strings. So yeah, Caddis, I highly recommend when you practice scales in general to start on the fat string. And I'm not the only one. I love this book so much. Mel Bay's Complete Book of Guitar Chords, Scales, and Arpeggios. That's how most of the scales are presented in this book, unless there's a practical reason to start the scale on the 5th string. But the bottom line is, I'm going to hold this up to the camera here. Let's just do what A major scales. If you own a copy of this book, we're talking about, where'd it go here? Page, wait for it, page 30, page 14. Okay, check it out. 4 different A major scales. When I say different starting points, that's all. So sometimes they have us starting on the open A, the 5th string, the open A, but sometimes they have us starting on the 6th string A. And if this seems confusing, that's okay. That's okay. That's why you get a book like this and you take 1 page at a time. And this one too, this page also has the A major scale. There's the one we just did right there. There it is right there. And then this one is starting on the 5th string, 12th fret, gets way up high, up to 17, not comfortable for everybody. So, but starting on the fat string is a great way to do it. There's so many ways to practice scales. Okay, now, Caddis, I think I've said my piece. Bruce says, I'm not really into fast playing, but I struggle to get my left and right hand perfectly in sync. Yeah, scales, that's, yeah. Well, a couple of things, Bruce. Patience, patience. You got to slow down. Not you personally, all of us have to slow down. If your 2 hands are not in sync, slowing down is the solution. Slowing down, sadly, is the solution to everything, and it pains me because I want to be as fast as everybody. But it's slowing down is the first step. You can always, ramp up your speed once you get those hands in sync with each other. So, Bruce, if you're like most of us, I'm guessing that you pick with your dominant hand. Our dominant hand in general can go faster than our weak hand. I know the motor skills are different motor skills, picking versus fretting, but it's just a fact, especially as you get better and better at the guitar. Your fretting fingers are going to have a hard time keeping up if you're like the rest of us. And then they're going to be out of sync, like Bruce is describing. Your right hand is going to be able to play, is going to want to play a scale so fast, and your left hand just might not be able to keep up. So number 1, slow down, sadly. Number 2, play with a metronome. Number 3, discipline. Number 4, discipline. Number 5, discipline. It's tricky. Record yourself. Play something that's super simple, like this scale that I keep talking about. You want to have most of your brain available to listen to your hands, hopefully being in sync with each other. You don't want to have your brain stressed out about some weird thing that is foreign and difficult and strange. That's one of the huge reasons why scales are or arpeggios for that matter, are so useful. Your brain kind of gets a scale pretty quickly, your basic major kind of scale. Your ear instantly hears a wrong note, so it's almost like your ear is like your wingman. And your ear is like, nope, stop, fix that note. That's especially if you're doing a typical major scale, blues scale, minor scale. So you want to choose material that's super simple so you can have 99% of your brain power available to listen for being in sync. And then I guess my final suggestion is to try to be as clear as possible about the exact moment when your hands are not in sync. And by not in sync, if you're like me, it's when your right hand plucks a string, but your left hand hasn't quite got the thing yet, whether it's a note or a chord or whatever. By keeping it simple, it hopefully brings some clarity to what's going on. It could be that you're playing a whole riff great, and there's a certain moment when something is not in sync. So I'm just saying, try to be as focused as possible on that moment. You might be playing totally great, but maybe there's one thing that's messing you up, as opposed to your overall problem in guitar life is that your hands are not in sync. Maybe it's very specific thing, and then focus on that thing as much as it can. And Bruce, feel free to put in the chat if there's one specific thing that is making you crazy, or if it's more just a general thing. Scott Rhodes says, do brand and price really matter when buying basic celluloid picks? Why spend twice as much for brand name picks as for non-brand? Yeah. Yeah, picks. I don't know. Plastic picks. I don't think they're made out of celluloid anymore, right? That was like old times celluloid. I just like that word, celluloid. But put it this way: if you can find a pick that you really love, and it happens to be just a cheapo pick, a no-name pick, whatever, great. People get really, all of us probably have our favorite picks. Some people are even more nuts than others. So yeah, I can't see spending more than $1 or $2 on a pick. I mean, I guess I'm just not that convinced that my problem relates to the pick I'm using. I use these fun little Jim Dunlop stubby 1mm little red picks. Easy to find when I drop for the most part. I find them in, different rooms of the house, the dryer, my car, wherever. I buy bags of 24, I guess, 20 or 24. It's not a cheap pick, but compared to some of the stuff I hear about, yeah. So I don't know, Scott. My advice is, though, keep playing them and see what happens. Hey, Scott, remind me, do you have the Dan Electro 12 string? Who has the Dan Electro 12 string? Because my buddy just got one, and we're going to share it, and we're going to find some tunes where when we play together, he can play a 12 string, and some tunes where I'll play a 12 string. We're very excited about this Dan Electro 12 string. And Scott, I think maybe you are the proud owner of a Dan Electro 12 string. Very excited. You guys know my friend Clay and I have been getting our act together, and we have our first gig Friday, February 7th. Our first gig in this, version of our music careers. And so we're very excited, and I'm sure we're going to find a way to use the Dan Electro 12 string on the gig. He found one at a decent price from a guitar center down in Nashville or Texas. Nashville, I think. And it arrived at his house yesterday. So I have not tried it yet. We're very, very excited. Okay, I'm scrolling down. You guys, I love these questions. Okay. Bruce, the answer to your next question is yes. Can watching YouTube guitar instruction videos on scales, theory, does that count as practice? 100%. Now, in fact, it'd be a shame if no one took advantage of that, because man, just a little music theory, a little bit on scales and stuff, it works. I mean, it helps. It makes you a more of a musician, not just a person who owns a guitar, and that in general, I think that should be all of our goals, to improve your musicianship over time. Your fingers will follow well, put it this way. An experienced musician can say a lot with a few notes because they are played with intention, with purpose. I just want you to pick whoever your favorite guitar players are. And if you were sitting there strumming a G chord and they were sitting there with you, they could play 3 or 4 notes that would sound so good. Not hard notes, nothing hard, but they would play them tastefully, with decades of experience behind them. And you'd say, dang it, man, I thought I had to be fast. I thought I had to know the names of every note on the fretboard. I thought I had to go down to the crossroads and sell my soul. So musicianship it's what we really all should be working on in general. And that's one way. I mean, theory and scale stuff, that's one way to do it. Having said all that, you want to find videos that work for you. there's so many ways to explain stuff. So don't beat yourself up. If some person is out there talking about music theory or talking about whatever, anything, it could be a specific song, anything, and it's just not working well for you, it might not be you. It might be how that person is presenting it. I can't emphasize that enough. As you guys know, anybody can post anything on YouTube, right? I didn't even go to music school. Did not. I did not go to. I went to regular college, right? You know what I mean? And look at me now. Look at me now. What does that mean? I have no idea. So I studied. I took private lessons. I studied, did my own thing. But because anybody can post anything on YouTube, don't beat yourself up. If one person is explaining something, quote, quote, and it's not sinking in, it might not be you. Keep looking for the person that you connect with, you know. I feel strongly about that. DAC Poet says, if I go fast on scales, I mess up. Yep, yep. And then you slow it down and you get it right. But then, as you know, keep ramping up your speed little by little. You know, that's one reason a metronome is good. You can put a number on it, 60 beats per minute, 80 beats per minute. Remember, you don't have to buy a metronome. You just get a free metronome app on your phone. There's plenty of them out there. Dawson says, do I have any Neil Young stories? I have one. I have one Neil Young story. A guy took lessons from me, and he was an IT computer guy a few years ago. Huge Neil Young fan. And he got very involved in one of Neil Young's benefit concerts out in California, right? He does those, they're called bridge concerts to raise money for the school that his kids go to, I think. So he got himself at like a volunteer position doing computer stuff for one of these Neil Young benefit concerts. And it was chow time. And he found himself in line at the cafeteria behind Neil Young. That alone is pretty cool. When Neil Young got to the register to pay, he found himself vouching for Neil Young when the cashier said, yeah, that'll be $24.50. Neil Young was like, but. And so my student stepped in and said, don't you know who this is? This is his concert. And so he vouched for Neil Young, and that's my Neil Young story. Pretty cool, right? Why not? I think that's my only Neil Young story. But there you go. Very fun. So yeah, that's it. Okay. I'm scrolling here. Hey, we're not too far off from our weekly guitar play along. We'll get to that in a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. Scott does have the Dan Electro 12 string. Nice, Scott. Okay, my buddy got the black one. I don't know how many colors. My guess is they don't come in too many colors. So maybe you have the black one with a white pickguard too. But we are very excited. Beginner guitar lessons reminds us, don't forget, any work you do on scales or arpeggios, down, up picking, you'll never regret it, especially if you have to slow down your scale playing to remember whether you should be doing a down pick or an up pick as you alternate back and forth. Good. Whatever slows you down. The cute phrase is, if you want to play fast, play slowly. Dawson says you'll add that to your Neil Young anecdote collection. Excellent. Scott's 12 string is a cream color with a red pick guard. Oh, that sounds sweet. Very nice. Very nice. Scott, I'm curious what gauge strings you have on your Dan Electro, and if it's what it came with, or if you over time have chosen another gauge. I think my buddy put on, or maybe it came with, no, I don't know what it came with, but he bought a set of 10 gauge strings for the 12 string. So regardless of what it came with, at some point he'll put on the 10 gauge strings. Okay. I'm scrolling here. Bear with me. Okay, Caddis. Okay, saw that one. We got that. Randy loves the blue Tortex picks. Yeah, we all have our favorites, right? And you are allowed to have your favorite pick. Jimmy Vaughn, the blues player, is the only guitar player I ever saw, like in an interview, saying he likes little Fender thin picks. Makes me crazy. I hate those thin picks so much. I'm not going to tell Jimmy Vaughn not to use his favorite pick, right? But, there you go. Someone on the planet enjoys thin picks, and his name is Jimmy Vaughn. So Charlie says, remember when I asked you about fretboard radius? I changed from a Strat with a 9.5-inch radius to a Telecaster with a 12-inch radius, and it seems so much easier to play. Very interesting. Nice, man. Nice. I'm curious about something. A Fender Telecaster, I think, does not typically have a 12-inch radius. So let us know in the chat, was it literally a Fender Telecaster or a Telecaster style guitar? And was it tricky to buy? Is that why you bought it? I'm kind of curious, Charlie, because to my knowledge, that's not very common. By the way, the fretboard radius, what we're talking about is how curved your fretboard is. Now, you might look and say it's not curved at all. It's a flat piece of wood, but it is very subtly curved. And the larger the number is, say 12 is larger than 9.5, right? The flatter your fretboard seems. Okay, so Charlie's 12-inch radius on his Telecaster seems flatter than the 9.5-inch radius on his Stratocaster, which is a pretty standard radius, 9.5 inches. That's what this guitar is, a 9.5-inch radius. Conventional wisdom is that a flatter fretboard makes it easier to bend notes. So the 12-inch radius is easier to bend notes. The smaller radius is easier for bar chords. So there you go. Wingo points out that classical guitars are like the flattest typically. I think they still have a little bit of a radius, but yeah, you're right, Wingo. Nylon string classical guitars are known for being super, it would be a very large radius, meaning they would feel very flat. Charlie says it's a Fender Player Plus. Interesting. So I take it that's that's the plus, right? That Fender did some interesting things and to make it special, and that's one of the things they gave it a flatter radius, a larger radius. Interesting. Scott Rhodes says 10s are what he has on his 12-string guitar. Okay, you guys, I'm just about ready to rock and roll. Let's do it. We have guitar play-along song of the week. Bear with me here. I shall not say its name. Why not? Because it cracks me up, man. It cracks me up so much that if I don't say the name of the song, it's coming up in a second. If I don't say the name of the song, I don't get demonetized. I can sing it. There we go. I can sing it. I can talk about it. I just can't apparently say the name, or I don't put the name in the description of the video. But what a great song. Oh, I have a story about the great songwriter, singer, guitar player who wrote this tune. He was in Connecticut a few years back and needed some emergency dental work. He went to my buddy's dental practice. My buddy had the day off, so his partner got to do the dental work on the author of this song and got a nice little selfie with Mr. Miller. So there you go, right? That's not fair. You take the day off. Duck Dunn took the day off, and Booker T and the MGs did Green Onions. The rest is history. Poor Duck Dunn. He was out fishing. Duck Dunn, the bass player from Stax Records, from Booker T and the MGs, comes back from fishing, and they had recorded Green Onions. Was Louis Steinberg not only playing bass, but getting songwriting credit. I believe Green Onions is credited to the 4 members who recorded the tune, the 4 people at that moment who were Booker T and the MGs. Meanwhile, there's Duck Dunn playing Green Onions the rest of his life, but he doesn't get a songwriting credit and wasn't there for the recording. Anyways, I digress. Okay, so a couple things you need to know about this song by Mr. Miller here. We got a riff. Okay, that riff, easy peasy, those 3 open strings and a 1-finger A chord. That is part of the total phrase. Okay, so the riff itself, the melodic part of the riff, that 202, with a nice little pull off on the 4th string, 2 down to 0. there's a certain amount of overlap. At the moment, I'm treating the two parts of this, that first part and the second part, I'm treating them as two separate things. Is it possible that Steve Miller played both? Maybe. I fired up my looper to show you. Check this out. The looper is going to play the melodic part. You're going to hear me doing that part. Here it comes. Pretty slick. What an operation we have here. If this ever gets too polished, just let me know. I can dumb it down a little bit. See what I mean? There's a certain overlap. Bottom, down, 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 bottom. You're welcome to put them both together. You put them both together in slow motion. You wouldn't be able to play that last 3-0 at the end, right? You got to sacrifice something. That's where the overlap happens. Okay, so there's the riff. You can see the verse, lots of A's and D's, occasional G sneaks in. And then the chorus is G, D, A. That happens 4 times. Okay. What I want you to know is, number one, for those of you who are basically essentially beginners, you can play A's, D's, you're getting used to that. It is good enough to play, here we go, 4 strums in the A chord, 2 on the D, 2 on the A. See those slash marks underneath? Leaving home, out on the road, I've been down before. You can do that. I'm going to go a little bit faster when you do it, but you could treat those slash marks as downstrokes, no matter what, when you get to any G chord or any D chord anywhere in the song, I'm basically going to grab the old-fashioned G and the regular D, the cowboy chord version of G and D. By the way, for once, Jonathan is saying, go ahead and do G any way you want to. I'm doing G with my first 3 fingers, no pinky or anything. For some of you, that's just normal G. And this song is a perfect opportunity to play normal G. None of this ring, middle, pinky thing unless you want to. Okay. The reason I'm saying that for the G and the D, I'm going to play just the regular chords. For the A and the D-A, like that first line there, it's a great moment to do the A shuffle pattern and the D shuffle pattern, like this. That's the A shuffle. And drop my fingers down for the D shuffle. Okay, now some of you are like, oh, shuffle pattern, got it. Some of you are like, wait, what is that? Okay, real quick. The A shuffle pattern, we have 2 strings at the same time, the open A string and the 4th string, 2nd fret. Just those 2 strings. I know it might look like I'm squeezing a lot of things with my index finger. I'm just pressing all my pressure on the 4th string, 2nd fret. And then I reach up with my ring. You could use your pinky, 4th string, 4th fret. That is known as the A shuffle. Leaving home, out on the road. Okay, the D shuffle, same deal, drop it down 1 string, open D string, and at the same time, the 3rd string, the G string, 2nd fret. My ring finger or pinky can jump up 3rd string, 4th fret. That's the D shuffle. A shuffle. D shuffle back to A shuffle. Okay, now some of you are like, Jonathan, I got this. Let's play the song. Some of you are like, wait. How many times what to do? I get it. I don't mean to throw you in the deep end of the pool. If this shuffle business is not where your head is at right now, just play the chords. Leaving home, out on the road, I've been down before. Okay. Last thing, we're going to get started in a second. I realize I'm not digging too deep into like teaching you every nuance of the song, but a minute ago when I said when I get to the G, D part, I'm playing the cowboy chords. That's specifically when it's a G chord going to the D chord. At those moments, I'm not doing the D shuffle. I'm doing the G to D, back to the A. And then most or all the time, any time it says the letter A, I'm probably not going to do an A chord. I'm probably going to do the A shuffle instead. Okay, one of your takeaways should be you are allowed to mix and match. You can use shuffle patterns in general and old-fashioned chords, cowboy chords, open position chords, whatever you want to call them. You can use them together in the same song. Not only can you, but Steve did, and we all can and should, including writing your own tunes, right? Okay, so just to give you a taste, we'll do it for real in a minute. I'm going to, when we do the song for real in a minute, I'm not going to do that first part of the riff. I'm not going to leave that out. I'd rather focus on the rest of the riff. I'm going to do it 4 times because he does it 4 times. Like that. Now that leads, after 4 of those, it leads right into the A, 2, 3, 4, D, 2 counts, A, 2 counts. It leads right into that. Notice the verse has 4 lines total, right? And the last 2 lines are the exact same. A, G, D, A. That's kind of nice. So to the best of my ability, I'm going to keep it at about this speed. Okay. The chorus, not much time on the G and the D. Big old jet airliner, don't carry me too far away. G to D to A. That's what the chorus is going to sound like. G to D to A. Okay, what do you think? Does that work for you? Typically, after the chorus, Mr. Miller here does 2 of those riffs up top. As the song winds up, towards the end, he keeps repeating the chorus, and sometimes he doesn't do the riff. He just begins the chorus again. There's another time when he does it. Let's not worry about that. But you will hear me, knock on wood, do the riff 2 times after the chorus. All right, before we start, we're going to start in a second. Intro, which is the riff there, right? 4 times. Verse, chorus. And remember that GDA thing happens 4 times, right? It repeats 4 times. Verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. I mean, pretty straightforward tune. And then, like I said, he keeps, Caddis gets 3 gold stars and 1,000 points. Caddis says that riff sounds similar to the opening riff in Crossroads. It freaked me out for a minute. I thought, wait a minute. I had to like forget the Crossroads riff for a minute because it is extremely similar. So I'm not surprised that somebody caught that. Okay. I'm as ready as I'm going to be. Wet my whistle. I didn't have the foresight to buy a healthy drink, so I'm drinking coffee too late in the day. Not smart. I can explain why I'm going to stay up late tonight, though. Why I intend to stay up late. I'll explain why in a little bit. Okay, you ready, Freddie? I think I'm as good as I'm going to get. Let's put this here. All right, I'll see you on the other side. Riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Leaving home, out on the road. I've been down before, riding along this big old jet plane. I've been thinking about my home, but my love light seems so far away, and I feel like it's all been done. Somebody's trying to make me stay. I gotta be more moving on. Oh, big old jet airliner, don't carry me too far away. Oh, big old jet airliner, 'cause it's here that I got to stay. Goodbye to all my friends at home. Goodbye to the people I trusted. Gotta go out and make my way. I might get rich, you know, I might get busted. But my heart keeps calling me backwards as I get on the 707. Riding high, I got tears in my eyes. You know you got to go to hell before you get to heaven. Big old jet airliner, don't carry me too far away. Oh, big old jet airliner, 'cause it's here that I got to stay. Touching down in New England town, feel the heat coming down. I gotta keep on keeping on. You know the big wheel keep spinning round. I'm going with some hesitation. You know that I can surely see that I don't wanna get caught up in any of the funky kick going down in the city. Big old jet airliner, don't carry me too far away. Oh, big old jet airliner, 'cause it's here that I got to stay. Oh, big old jet airliner, carry me to my home. Oh, big old jet airliner, 'cause it's there that I belong. Oh, big old jet airliner, don't carry me too far away. Oh, big old jet airliner, 'cause it's here that I got to stay. One important piece of information that you're going to need, I meant to put it on the chart there. Capo on the 3rd fret. If you want to play along with Steve Miller, capo on the 3rd fret. So extremely important information. Why did I not do that? I can't sing as high as Steve Miller. I can barely sing as high as me. So capo at the 3rd fret. When, not if, when you go to play along with Steve Miller. Everything is the same, though. The riff is the same. Everything's the same, just capo on the 3rd fret, okay? That's important because by putting the capo on the 3rd fret, here we go, you can take advantage of the beauty of this classic shuffle pattern, you know? So everything is the same, just capo at the 3rd fret if and when you go to play along with Mr. Miller. Okay, Wingo, you got me cracking up before I even finished the song. Funky kicks going down in the city. Yep, kicks. We all know what, there's the edited version, and then there's the studio, I don't know. Funky kicks going, when I pulled up on Spotify, funky kicks going down in the city, that's, there you go. That's what the version that came up. Okay. Mostly I did what I said of what I was going to do for the most part. I want to point out that not a shock, we are in the key of A, right? We're in the key of A. It's a fair guess. There's only 3 chords in the song. So you've got to figure we're either in the key of A, D, or G, right? It's got to be one of those. It has to be, right? If for no other reason than the huge number of A chords in the song, it's a fair guess that we're in the key of A, and we are in the key of A. one of the many reasons I like this song is the flat 7 chord. In the key of A, the G chord is, quote, not supposed to be there, right? And yet there it is. I have this, you know, like a divining rod where you can find water, right? You know, I have that for flat 7 chords. I love songs that use the flat 7 chord. And this is an example of it. If you want to know what the flat 7 chord sounds like, it's anytime you go to the G chord in this song. It's such a cool thing. Someday we'll do Fortunate Son by CCR. And I think that was the first time I knew from a music theory standpoint, like, oh, we're going to the flat 7 chord. But in this song, A is the 1 chord. D, like delta, is the 4 chord. D is the 4th note of an A major scale, so therefore the D chord gets nicknamed the 4 chord. The 7th the 7th note of an A major scale is G sharp, but this song does not have a G sharp chord. It has a G chord that's nicknamed the flat 7 chord. I love songs just because they have the flat 7 chord. Even, I don't know, so many of my favorite songs have that. So there you go. Randy says there's a fun video of Steve Miller playing and joking with Les Paul, who is his godfather. Yeah, you know what? I think I've heard that. What I don't know is Steve Miller's connection, his parents' connection with Les Paul. But now that you mention it, Randy, I think I've heard that before, and I'm sure you're right. I'm a big Steve Miller fan. But then who isn't a big Steve Miller fan, right? Okay, comments, questions, you guys good? One thing that cracks me up, you guys, is how the chat basically goes quiet when we're doing this. And then you guys come back into the chat. And it makes me so happy because I have this image that all over the world, people are playing this song. Like, we're doing it, man. We're rocking out. So, yeah. Yep. Jeff H. is confirming that Steve Miller has that connection with Les Paul as his godfather. Okay, so how did for all I know, Mr. and Mrs. Miller were musicians and they knew Les Paul from being musicians, but maybe someone could make that connection for us. Okay, you guys ready to stop sharing here? Okay, stop sharing, we go, and we're back. Anytime we do these live stream play-alongs, you know, it's one of my favorite things that we do during these live streams. I love it. But because our time is somewhat limited, and I like to put a whole bunch of information on one piece of paper, and believe it or not, I try not to talk too much in preparation for this. I worry that half of you are rocking out and half of you are like, this is impossible. I don't understand this. The guy didn't give me enough information. If any of you are frustrated by like not being able to do what you want to for a song like that, it's not necessarily you or your skills. If we were doing a one-on-one in-person lesson, it'd be so much easier to see what you are capable of, to address stuff, and in just a few minutes have you up and running on a song like this in some way, shape, or form. Because you know what I call my live stream here? It's a weapon of mass instruction. I'm trying to reach a lot of people. That I get that for some of you, this might be a whole lot of information that can be a little bit frustrating. And I imagine that some of you are like, oh my God, dude, it's A, G, and D. We're good. Stop talking so much. I know. Jeff H., you like that weapon of mass instruction? Yeah. Someday, maybe that'll be when I get my Patreon up and running, maybe that'll be the T-shirt. It'll say SongBike and then weapon of mass instruction, WMIs. Speaking of which, thank you for your suggestions, and I welcome more. Some of you gave me some great suggestions. Before long, I'll get my Patreon thing going, and for $5 a month, you'll get blah, 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 blah. I can't wait, but I would love suggestions from you right now. You. Put it in the chat or send me an email. What would you like, to sort of receive or blah, blah, blah for a Patreon membership? So let me know. Either put in the chat right now. I will put my email address. Don't be shy about sending me an email, you guys. You are the ones I want to hear from. info@song. And that's also for the people who are watching, not live in the next few days. info@song-bike.com. Send me an email. Help me kind of create my Patreon thing. You guys gave me some great suggestions before, and I'm open to some more suggestions. Okay. Pooba John, I see your question. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Before I do, I'm going to check off a couple of things on my list right here. I have here in my hands a list. Why do I watch your feet during lesson? I do. Not all of you who do in-person lessons with me, but some of you who do in-person lessons with me, I find myself looking at your feet, and now I will reveal why I look at your feet. Sometimes there's an answer that won't surprise you and an answer that will surprise you. If I notice any issue with your rhythm or timing, I look to see if you're tapping your feet. If you are not tapping your foot and your timing might be a little bit off, sometimes I'll suggest that you do tap your foot and vice versa. If you're tapping away and your timing is not where it should be, sometimes I say, don't tap your foot. Let's experiment, see what happens if you don't tap your foot. And I've seen very cool results both ways. But the other reason I find myself looking at my students' feet when they're playing the guitar, hard for me to illustrate this because you can't see my feet. When people are stressed, it comes out in their feet. I always see a student, for instance, with like sort of up on their toe, like if they're right-handed, maybe their right foot, they're up on their toe, the right foot, and they're grinding their toe, and I can see their sneaker bending. I can see something because they're stressed out. And I know they're stressed out not only because there's some tension there, but because they're disregarding the message from their brain and saying, "Ow, that hurts," because they're so focused on the guitar. 100% human thing. This is not a judgmental thing, but that tells me, okay, this person is taking this moment very seriously, and they are giving it 100%, even to the point where they are sitting awkwardly, and I can't tell you how often I've noticed it, not with every student, obviously, but with every once in a while, I say, "Ooh, look at that foot right there." We're going to have to, when they're done, sometimes I like to let something play out. Let's finish the song, let's finish the riff, whatever. And then say, okay, so here's what I noticed, let's put your foot flat on the ground. Actually, let's shake it out for a minute. Let's put it flat on the ground. So why am I bringing this up? When you're practicing, get comfortable, right? Feet flat on the ground, unless you have some sort of footrest or whatever. Always do like a survey for tension in your body. Shoulders, are your shoulders like this? I teach drums as well. Sometimes I see my drum students, they're like this, like, dude, can't, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. So that's why I watch my students' feet. And, I get a lot from that. So there you go. Stay as relaxed as you possibly can be. Speaking of which, we have a poll question up and running, and I'm going to remind you to vote in the poll, and then I'm going to tell you about my own dumb question. Then Pooba John will get to your question. The poll: is playing the guitar relaxing for you? No, it's hard, and I get stressed out. That's one option. Option 2, yeah, it helps me mentally. Third option, depends how hard the song is. And fourth option is other. If you answered other, definitely clarify in the chat. The vast majority of you, 76%, saying yes, playing the guitar is relaxing. It helps me mentally. Okay, but hey, if that's not how you feel, don't, go ahead and vote in the poll. My own dumb question of the week. I ask dumb questions so you don't have to. Here's my dumb question of the week. If playing the guitar, if music is so good for you, why is it so hard? How can something so frustrating, occasionally painful, maddening, how can that be good for you? Neuroscience tells us that playing music is helpful for your well-being. It's a good thing to do. We all should do it, and we all should do it more. But why is it so hard? That's a pretty big disconnect, right? That's my dumb question of the week. If music is so good for you, why do we want to smash our instruments occasionally? Why, you know, you play something for 20 minutes, how come it doesn't sound significantly better most of the time, sometimes, right? Why? That's a dumb question. But if music is so good for you, why is it hard? I don't know. That's my dumb question of the week. Depends on what you're playing, right? Depends on what you're playing. Okay, Poopa John, I saw your question. Poopa John is asking about the word voicing. What's it mean by finding the voicing of a chord? Yeah, voicings of chords. For us guitar players, the most practical way to talk about a voicing of a chord is the different shapes your fingertips make. Now, I'll give you an example. Your teacher taught you a D major chord, D like delta, and you learned your D major chord, and you can play a D major chord. And at some point, someone, maybe me, said, hey, you can take that grip and move it up 2 frets, and now it's an E major chord, E like echo. As long as you only strum the 3 you're touching. D major down here, E major up here. And you might say, geez, I thought that was the E major. And now you have a different way to play E major. Technically, that would be known as a different voicing, right? You're taking the 3 notes, by definition, an E major chord, 3 notes, E, G sharp, and B. This is one way to play lots of E's, G's, and G sharps and B's. And this is another way to play simply one E, G sharp, and B. So long story short, that's simply a different voicing of an E chord. To make things clear for a guitar player, I would say, oh, it's an E chord that feels like a D chord, right? It's a D chord up 2 frets. So personally, I don't use the word voicing in my conversation with students because it's not directly helpful. Whereas taking a D chord and going up 2 frets, that's very clear. And it doesn't, I mean, it's a D up 2 frets and we're all good to go. But I'm glad you're using the word voicing, Poopa John, because that is another way a lot of other people would describe what just happened. I played a different voicing of an E major chord. And there's lots of voicings of an E major chord all over the neck. But from a practical standpoint, it's simply another arrangement of your fingers in a new place. And there's nothing wrong with calling it that, E chord that feels like a D chord. That's a great way to describe it. End of story. It is. You can dig deeper and sort of name those notes. But anyway, so that's we could talk about this more and more and more, but that's what I want your takeaway to be. It's just a different way of playing a chord, higher, lower, up and down the neck, or maybe playing on the skinnier strings versus playing on the fatter strings. As long as you're playing the notes that by definition are in the chord, like I said, the definition of an E chord on any instrument, E, G sharp, and B. As long as you're playing those 3 notes minimum, right? 3, 1 E, 1 G sharp, 1 B, you are playing some voicing of an E chord. Scott Rhodes says, when somebody uses your Sweetwater link, do I see who bought what? No, I don't. I don't. I just see that someone bought a certain item. And Scott, you are reminding me that. Why not? Let's put that in the where'd it go? Where's my Sweetwater link? Let's put that in the there it is. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, Sweetwater is a very fun company. Imagine Amazon, but just for musicians. And when I say Amazon, I mean tons of stuff at competitive prices. But imagine Amazon with amazing customer service, right? There we go, paste. Okay. In the chat, I put the affiliate link, my affiliate link for Sweetwater. If you are so inclined, click on that link whenever. It's also going to be in the description of this video. Sweetwater then knows that I sent you to Sweetwater. And I believe for 14 days, Sweetwater connects me and you. They know that. They know where you came from. So if you buy something from Sweetwater, they kick back a little bit of their profits to support this live stream, and go for it. Go for it. I appreciate it. I thank you in advance. Yeah, I'm always going to encourage you guys to frequent your local mom and pop music store, because we all should do that, right? It's a beautiful thing. Sometimes there's not one near you. Sometimes you might need something in a hurry and they can't get it for you fast enough. There's lots of reasons to shop online. I'm always going to encourage you to go to Sweetwater instead of, say, Amazon, for lots of reasons, including the customer service. I mean, there's no customer service on planet Earth better than Sweetwater. Amazon does not want to offer you customer service. They just want to, you have a problem, they give you money back, whatever, it's over. Sweetwater wants to talk to you. They want to get to know you, man. They want to make sure you're good. And I think that's a good thing. Okay. Yeah, Jeff H says, do you make song notes in a notebook for shows where you're doing a large number of songs? Yeah. Yep. Sometimes I'll have the name of the song and then I'll have whatever I'm worried that I'll forget. Name of the song, capo the 3rd fret. Name of the song, don't forget we're going to segue into another song right, immediately. I'll make a little note next to it. Maybe what key we're in. I do my best to memorize lyrics. I just, the point of pride for me, I want to get up and do a song. I'd rather mess up and sing the 2nd verse 2 times in a row instead of the 3rd verse. I'd rather do that than stare at lyrics, while I'm performing. That's just me, but that's my thing. So, but I do make notes. Oh yeah. So when we play on February 7th, I'll probably have a piece of paper nearby with a set list and maybe a little something next to each tune if I need it. Yeah, it's a great idea. But I'm talking about performing. You may be talking about just keeping track of the songs that you know, and I highly recommend that. Oh yeah, binder, 3-ring binder, plastic sleeves, no plastic sleeves. Oh yeah, if you can. Well, no, we should. I mean, keep track of all the songs you've ever learned, everything you've ever played. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. Because you begin to forget stuff that you were pretty good at, but time goes on. Then you're like, oh, what was that song? Did I use a capo? What was that riff? And yeah, so I have that binder. So when I go over to my buddy's barn, we play in the barn, small town. This is kind of rural out where I am in Connecticut. Not rural like nothing but cornfields, but there's barns and fields. Small town Connecticut. Big news, man. Today. Tell me if this is small town enough for you. Puzzle competition over there at the public library today. Puzzle, jigsaw puzzles. Today was the day, man. Puzzle competition. I missed it, so we'll see who did what. There'll probably be a picture in the local paper about who did what at the puzzle competition. That's what happened today here in what I call small town Connecticut. So a binder, yeah. I'll bring my binder to my friend's barn, and I'll have the lyrics for sure, and for each song, right? One piece of paper, and then I'll make notes, just write anything I need to do. And the idea, though, is to ultimately not need that anymore. Just in time for the show, just know each song and just know everything. Then people do it. If Keith Richards can do it, I can do it. Yeah, regarding today's poll question, do you find music relaxing? Scott says, I think part of why it's good for you is it relieves stress. It's good for you and relieves stress is because sometimes you have to concentrate and empty your head of the other crap to make room for the new crap. Yeah, it's like when I used to ride a motorcycle. I was so stressed in fear of my life. I just didn't have time to worry about taxes. I just wanted to, make it to the coffee shop or I had a motorcycle just for a few brief summers, and oh man, those are the days. Just go for little ways outside the city, and I was living in Chicago at the time, and great way to start a Sunday. but it was somewhat stressful, and I definitely couldn't think about anything else. I just wanted to make it to whatever my destination was, and then relax. William Collier says the human brain needs challenge to maintain plasticity. I like that. You got it. I like that, Bill. Everybody knows what Bill is getting at in layman's terms. Hard stuff keeps you young. Challenges keep you smart, right? DAC Poet is confirming that. Caddis is saying same as the human body, right? Yeah, I mean, you use your body, you stay loose. Yeah. Jeff H is commenting on the thing about the D chord up the neck. Yeah, you got it, Jeff. You got it. We learn one thing and then realize even more is contained within that, right? That's a D chord, but it's also a grip. I call it a grip that can move up and down the neck. And here's famous Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin doing. Right, good over the hills and far away. I use that as an example. That's my go-to example for a big, famous, talented guitar player doing the D grip just higher up the neck, right? It's not because he can't do anything fancier than that. It's because it fit the song so well. That's what I really like about Jimmy Page. The times that I've done a deep dive into a Led Zeppelin song, many times I see Jimmy Page doing something that like we all can relate to. It's a D chord. It's a D grip. And then he's moving it up to a new place because that's what he wants to do. The name is no longer D. It just feels like a D. Anytime I see or hear a guitar player doing something that makes the song better, that makes the song sound great, and then I find out or realize or observe that the physical skill is not a hard thing. It just, it's something that's easy being used in a musical way. I love that guitar player. How cool is that, man? Yes, Jeff, the ring finger is touching the root note. Whatever the name of that note is the name of that chord. It's something major. That's a great way to identify it. Equally good or equally accurate is simply running through the musical alphabet. We all know that's a D chord, a D major chord. I'm not going to say major because we know major. That's a D chord. That's a D sharp chord. E. Remember, E and F are neighbors, right? E, F. There's no E sharp, not for practical purposes. That's an E chord. That's an F chord, an F sharp. G, G sharp. A sharp. B and C are also neighbors. There's no B sharp. B goes right to C. Okay, so that's another way, equally accurate, equally valuable, to figure out the names of stuff. Yeah. Scott says, if there's no challenge, there's no reward when you get it. Yep. I'll say this, my little musical journey, probably like yours, is a combination of moments when I realized, oh, since I paid my dues on that one song, I can play this other song because they're so similar, or the skills are similar, the chords similar, and I see you get that second song almost for free. And then the other moments where you're just working on this one hard thing, and you're just, paying your dues, and that's also part of the journey, right? Where you're not getting anything for free. You're just learning everything one note at a time. So both things hopefully are part of your own path, where you are you're paying your dues and you're getting pretty quick rewards. And then other times you're just paying your dues and you're just working on a tough song. But that the tough stuff, the big challenges, almost certainly contain skills and materials that you're going to use in the future, right? There are very few things I've come across that I didn't use again in the future. Some are more obvious than others, but yeah, any song that you're working on, you'll find ways. Charlie Beagle says, do any of the people on the live stream ever stop by your store to meet me? No, but you're totally allowed to. If any of you happen to be in the Connecticut area, passing through, whatever, Poopa John, you're in town here. Poopa John, have we met in person? Let me know, because I know you're in the same town as my music shop, right, Poopa John? But if any of you all are coming through Connecticut, good news and bad news. Good news, I'd love to meet you. That'd be awesome. That'd be mind blowing. Bad news is I'm never available. Basically, I wake up in the morning, I feed the dog, and I come and I start teaching. I go home at night, feed the dog, or watch my wife feed the dog. And, I spend time with my loved one, and then I go to bed. So I wish I could say I'm just hanging out in the music shop here and teaching lessons and then just not teaching lessons and you just come in. It's extremely possible that if we don't set up a little time to get to chat, to say hi, that you could knock on the door and you'd see like, oh, there's the guy, there he is, and he's teaching lessons, because that's my gig, man. I teach 40 something students a week, and every day but Sunday. Sunday I mow the lawn, shovel the driveway, spend time with my wife, spend time with my son if he's home from college. So, but you guys are totally invited. Just send me an email in advance, info@song-bike.com. And of course, I would love to meet any or all of you. I wish I could just say I'm more available. I'm not. As some of you directly know, I teach lessons, 9, 10, 11 in the morning. I mean, I start my day like a lot of you, like those of you who have real jobs, you start at 9, maybe 8, 8:30. And then by the time I'm done teaching in the evening, it's dinner time, man. But you know what? I would love to meet you guys, and never say never. Just send me an email so we could work out something. Jeff says, I've only been in Connecticut once. I was where the highway just comes to an abrupt end. Maybe Danbury, Connecticut. Yeah, maybe, Jeff. I don't know. Maybe. John is asking about that A shuffle. For that A shuffle, just a quick review. I'm doing the 5th string open. Simultaneously, my pick is also strumming the 4th string with my finger at the 2nd fret. In slow motion, it sounds like that. After 2 of those strokes, my ring, but I keep saying you could use your pinky, my ring reaches up to the 4th fret on the 4th string. And I do the same strum, meaning 2 strings simultaneously. There's the A shuffle. Charlie says, out of 200,000 subscribers, I'm surprised nobody stops by. Well, if you're talking about my overall YouTube people, a couple of times people have stopped by. I thought you were talking about specifically like you all in this chat right here. Over the years, I have had a couple of people stop by and introduce themselves, which is just awesome. I might not know them the way I feel like I kind of know some of you guys here from the chat, or some of you have taken lessons with me. But yeah, I have had a couple of people stop by. I've had a couple of people look at me weird, and I think, I wonder if they know me from YouTube. Oh, on vacation, we go to Maine every summer. We went to a food truck event, and I was at a Thai food truck, and the woman said, "Wait, I know you." The woman, running the food truck, and she knew me from YouTube. That was fun, and she gave me my food for free, which made me feel just so, I didn't know what to do. I'm not used to that type of treatment. So I gave her a tip in her tip jar because, like, I don't know. And because I'm not used to this type of attention, the tip I gave her was more than the food would have been. I don't know. I'm an idiot. I don't know. I'm not used to it. But there's my story. So yeah, every once in a while I do meet someone out there. Yeah. Hey, thank you for that. You guys are so generous. Thank you for the songbucks. Remember, if you make a donation for the Sharpie fund or the paper fund or the ink fund, that's called songbucks. Thanks to Rock Lobster, he invented that name. So Randy, thank you for your super chat donation. Jeff H, thank you for your super chat donation. Jeff says, coffee's on me if you like coffee. Jeff, coffee and I have a intimate relationship. Coffee is a beautiful thing. That's coffee number 3 today. So I'm ready to Disco. Rock Lobster. Yeah, was it 2 summers ago? I did a little tour. I went to some of the different music shops in Maine, close to where I vacation, and I let you all know, like, hey, if you want to come to Maine and say hi. So I got to meet Rock Lobster and Val. Val, I don't know if you're still in the chat. And I met a woman who, it was her brother who knew of me, but he lived far away, but he sent her because she was in Maine. So she shows up at this music shop and she says, "Are you the guy from YouTube?" I said, "I think so." And she said, "Just so I want you to know that my brother says hi. I don't know you, but my brother wanted me to stop and say hi." So that was fun, man. And I saw some very cool music shops. Ooh, I saw Gary's Guitars. I got my clipboard with my stickers. Gary's Guitars in Portsmouth, Maine. Val, was that where? Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I mean, Val, I think that's where I met Val. Got my little sticker collection. I got my Sweetwater sticker. The Music Emporium, Lexington, Massachusetts. I grabbed a sticker while I was at the Music Emporium. Love of Fuzz, Troy, New York. Ooh, speaking of Love of Fuzz, that's where I got this Fuzz pedal. So don't go anywhere. I'm going to give you a quick demo of how a distortion pedal is different from a fuzz pedal. Love of Fuzz, Troy, New York. True Tone. I got that sticker when I bought the, what did I get from True Tone? Oh, Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus got me very cool True Tone One Spot Pro power supply. So I could plug in all my pedals to the power supply. Okay, so let's do this. Don't be shy. We have plenty of time here. If you got a question, put it in the chat. But let me give you a quick demo of how a fuzz pedal sounds different from a distortion pedal. And I'll put this, I'll share the screen in a minute, but the fuzz pedal is made by the JHS pedal company, very cool company out of Kansas City. And the distortion pedal is a Boss Blues driver. So we have a Boss Blues driver versus a JHS Smiley fuzz pedal. So now I realize this is not the ideal way. I don't have all sorts of fancy mics set up. It's not the ideal way to compare sounds. Let's do it anyways. Why not? So there's my clean sound. I got my P90 pickup going through my Fender Pro Junior amp. Little reverb coming from my reverb pedal. Okay, so bear with me, you guys. Okay, here's the blues driver. And I have the gain cranked up pretty high. The blues driver is not known as an insane gain, heavy metal kind of pedal, which is why it works for me. But nevertheless, I cranked up the gain pretty high to help, hopefully, with a contrasting sound. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off. Here comes the fuzz pedal. Back to the blues driver. And the fuzz. I'll do some single note stuff. Here comes the blues driver with some single notes. And then fuzz. So what do you think? Based on, our somewhat simple setup here, did you hear a big difference, a little difference, no difference? Let me know in the chat. Right here in the room, the fuzz just sounds fuzzier. It's not as, there's a clarity that's missing. The distortion, despite that distorted sound, I can feel this sharp edge to it. And I don't get that sharp edge to the tone of the fuzz pedal. You know, did that come through? I'm kind of curious. While you are letting me know, here comes, in case you're curious, clicking this. This might take a minute to load. Your screen might go black for a second. Hold on. Here's, okay. Don't worry if your screen is going black. What I just put on the screen that some of you can see is the Sweetwater page for that JHS Smiley fuzz pedal. Now, I did not pay $179 for it because I traded in a bunch of stuff. I paid $0 for it, but I traded in a whole bunch of stuff, and I got that fuzz pedal and some other stuff. By the way, if you want to know where the name Smiley comes from, one way you could potentially explain that is there's a famous fuzz pedal called a fuzz face, and so Smiley kind of is a play on the fuzz face thing. At least that's what I'm assuming. So now this is a very cool pedal, but like I said, I'm aware that some of you might have heard a big difference, and some of you might say, they sounded about the same. I'm going to put a link to that in the chat. Okay. Copy. Okay, so coming up, don't go anywhere. Here's the Sweetwater link if you want to check out that fuzzy pedal. When I was in the shop called Love of Fuzz, Troy, New York, I said, look, I never had a fuzz pedal before. What do you recommend? So I talked it over with TJ there at Love of Fuzz, and he had a few used pedals in stock. That's what made it fun to trade, you know, to see what. That's a fun thing about mom and pop shops. The ones that do a lot of trades, you never know what they're going to have, right? And so he encouraged me to start my fuzz journey with that specific fuzz. Okay, so you guys, RB says the fuzz was too silent. Yeah, it wasn't loud enough. You couldn't hear it so well. Scott Rhodes said the difference was in the decay or the after sound. Interesting. So I don't know. We never did that before, like a back and forth comparison. If you did not hear a profound difference, it's not because your ears don't work. Don't worry. My little setup here is not ideal. But you know, I can hear a little difference, and I look forward to someday being like, ooh, for this thing, I'm going to use the fuzz instead of the distortion. Just so you know, the whole fuzz notion. Bear with me for a second. Many of us heard fuzz. You know, good old Satisfaction was the time that a lot of us, or the song that a lot of us associate with fuzz. For the fun of it, here's the same thing. That was the fuzz version. Here's the same thing with a blues driver distorted. And to me, that just sounds a little edgier. I don't know. But again, if you didn't quite hear a big difference, don't stress. Okay. Are we having fun? We got a few more minutes here. Let's do a few more things here. Hey, I want to say thank you to those of you who got yourself some merch, and thank you for sending pictures. We got some merch available, and I'm going to, in case you want to see what the merch is, kind of a very cool company out of Texas that's making my merch alta color. Okay, so if you want to get yourself some SongBike merch, there we go. I put that in the, it'll be in the description of the video, but it's in the chat too. Okay. Okay, so let's check a few things off. We did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. Least popular videos. Oh, let's do this. Why not, right? The least popular videos that I ever made. I'll make this fast because I might find this more hilarious than you do. But we're about to do the top 10 least popular song videos that I ever did. And we're gonna do this twice, and you'll see why in a second. You'll hear why in a second. Okay. For a while, I was making videos, one video a day, and I would do a different song every day for a little over a year. That's, I think, 399 videos. What was the least popular of the videos that I did? The least amount of views, Back in Black by AC/DC. Why is that? Why did it have so few views? I'm guessing because so many people have probably made great videos about that. I was probably the 1,000th person, but no matter what, no excuses. That video did not get many views. The 9th least popular video, Your Song by Elton John. Why would that get so few views? Because it's not a guitar song? I don't know. The 8th least popular video, Should I Stay or Should I Go by The Clash. The 7th, number 7, Killing Floor by Howlin' Wolf. I don't know, that came out pretty good, man. I don't know. The 6th least popular video, All Apologies by Nirvana. Number 5, Sweet Emotion by Aerosmith. Number 4, Break On Through by The Doors. That video did not break on through. Number 3, Long Time by the band called Boston. Now, I know why that one might not be so popular. The video was close to 20 minutes. And I don't know how, that's a long YouTube video. The second least popular video I ever made on a specific song, Ghostbusters. And the least popular song video I ever made in my life, Heart-Shaped Box by Nirvana. I don't know why. Oh, well. Now, I'll own it. Those are the 10 least popular song videos I ever made. Now, there's a parallel list, in case you're curious, that contains some of those songs, but some other ones. For a while, I was making videos when I was doing one every day, right? I start off making these like 1-minute videos or 45-second videos, because that was when I started off, January 1st of whenever I did it, 2016, I forget now. I'm like, oh, I'll make a 1-minute video every day. It sounded great, but YouTube does not like those videos. YouTube wants to show ads and stuff, as you know. So here's a list of the 10 least popular videos, if I include the super short ones that YouTube didn't like anyways. Okay. Number 10, this is the list, including the super short ones. Love Struck Baby by Stevie Ray Vaughan. Number 9, You Can't Do That by the Beatles. Manic Depression, that was number 8 by Jimi Hendrix. Number 7, Seven Nation Army by the White Stripes. Number 6, Break On Through by the Doors. Number 5, Long Time by Boston. So this includes both the super short ones and the long ones. Number 4, Ghostbusters. Number 3, Life in the Fast Lane by the Eagles. Number 2, Heart-Shaped Box. The reason I'm laughing, the number 1 least popular video, including the short ones, this video went nowhere, and I partly know why. The number 1 least popular video of a song that I ever made, Limelight by Rush. Now, the reason I'm cracking up is I made Limelight, and I don't remember it being particularly short. Maybe it was. But what I remember about Limelight is I was getting kind of squirrely making these videos every day. So I made the video for Limelight. I played it. I demonstrated it on the guitar, the accordion, the 4-string banjo, and this little set of bells that I had. And that was a demo to show people like, hey, here's what you're going to sound like. It cut very quickly. I'll put the link in the description of this video. And then when I actually did the how to play the song, not the demo, I did it on the 4-string tenor banjo. That's, at the time, it was funny. Playing Rush on the 4-string banjo or the accordion, or you had to be there. That's the least popular video. Moving on, my friends. But I will put the link to that in the description of this video. Okay, checking off stuff. Should I sell out? Here's what I was offered this week. Should I sell out? Maybe. What I was offered to offer to you, more energy drinks. An energy drink company reached out to me and they claimed that they loved what I do and that they thought that what I do would be a great fit to sell you energy drinks. The other thing I was offered this week, number 2, more skincare products. And the third thing that I was offered based on what I do for a living, I was offered this item to sell to you, ice cream powder. Moving on, student quote of the week. I was talking with a student about the Grammy Awards. The Grammy Awards are coming up February 2nd. You know, I'm very excited about the Grammy Awards because of all the somewhat less famous people who are nominated, incredibly talented people. I was talking with a student, and he said, the Grammys are kind of like our Super Bowl. Oh, I love that, man. Thomas was the student quote of the week. Thomas is one of my in-person students. And when he said that, I'm like, yeah, man, the Grammys are like our Super Bowl. I know some of you are not totally into the Grammys because the headliners may not produce music that you love. It's okay, I get that, but there's so much other stuff, right? So I get a kick out of the Grammys because I'm rooting for so many people beyond just the biggest names. That's a student quote of the week. Timothee Chalamet starring in the Bob Dylan movie. How long did Timothee Chalamet practice the guitar and take lessons before the filming of the movie? How long? How long do you think? I saw a little clip on social media somewhere of Timothee Chalamet discussing what he had to do to prepare for the role of Bob Dylan. How many years? 5.5 years. Presumably he got the role, and took him 5.5 years to get good at the guitar, good enough to perform in the movie. Kind of interesting, right? What we don't know is was Timothee Chalamet practicing 2 hours a day every day for 5.5 years? Was he like most of us, like he practiced when he could? But you know, I assume he was filming other movies, rehearsing, doing other stuff with his life. And just like the rest of us, he probably couldn't put in hours and hours and hours of practice every day, right? So there you go. So if and when you see Complete Unknown, the movie starring Timothee Chalamet performing as Bob Dylan, 5.5 years. That's how long it took him to do that. Interesting. I find that stuff fascinating. Another thing I find fascinating, I'm doing a little deep dive into who else was in the movie. And as some of you know, I'm going to share the screen again in a second here. As some of you know, there we go. The people portraying musicians in that movie are people who really could play their instruments. So, for example, someone was acting like the great guitar player Michael Bloomfield. Who was it? Well, it's on your screen right there, or it will be very soon. If your screen is black, hang in there. Eli Brown. He was the actor playing guitar. That at least that's the hype I'm hearing. Anyone playing an instrument in the Bob Dylan movie, they were really playing their instrument. So that's who was Michael Bloomfield, Eli Brown, an American actor. This is the Wikipedia page. Born August 13th. That's my birthday, August 13th. Sadly, I'm a little bit older than Eli Brown, but August 13th, how cool is that? So, and don't go anywhere. I'm going to stop sharing that one, but I'm going to share a different page. Share screen. Here's a little more about Eli Brown, the guitar player who was acting like cast as Michael Bloomfield. Can you see that on the page? Again, if your screen is going black, hang in there. Eli Brown from Eugene, Oregon. So just so interesting to me, right? Because they had to find people who could play at a relatively high level, man. If you're imitating Michael Bloomfield, you got to be a pretty competent guitar player. You had to obviously like look somewhat like the person, you know, basically. And so I'm going to continue to sort of do a little deep dive into who's playing who, but I had to find out who was portraying Michael Bloomfield in A Complete Unknown. And that's who it was, Eli Brown. So as a side note, Michael Bloomfield's guitar is still for sale. Do you guys remember this? The guitar that Michael Bloomfield actually used in the recording studio for Like a Rolling Stone, and other songs too, I imagine. And the song that Michael Bloomfield played on stage in 1965 when Dylan went electric. That guitar is for sale right now on reverb.com. $275,000. For those of you not familiar with the reverb.com, it's a place to buy instruments, buy musical stuff. And there have been two, but only two offers on that guitar. Why would there only be two offers? I mean, if people are making offers on this guitar priced at $275,000, I get people making offers. I don't get why there were two offers sort of right off the bat, and then no one's made any other offers on it. Really? I don't know. $275,000 to buy that Fender Telecaster, plus $200 in shipping. And if that's not the funniest thing, I don't know what is. But no free shipping, not for you. No free shipping. $200 for shipping for that guitar. So if you're curious, you can go to reverb.com and see that guitar for sale. Okay. See, Scott Rhodes says, I've aged out of the demographic for the Grammys. See, Scott, but you haven't. That's the thing. It could be that the big names, the people who are going to be performing during the Grammys, the people who are going to win the big pop awards, you may be less familiar with those people. I get it. It's the people down the list that are so, in my opinion, so super talented and interesting and committed. And those are the people who need the Grammys, man. You know, if you're just a working musician and you're just doing your thing and you get nominated for a Grammy, I mean, talk about life-changing. Holy cow. I mean, winning a Grammy would change anyone's life. But, I mean, it's like, 75 miles an hour to 85 miles an hour. That's a change, right? How about 20 miles an hour to 85? That's a big change. So, Scott, we will be talking about who did win the Grammys, especially closer to the bottom of the list. Wingo says that guitar is ugly because someone took that Michael Bloomfield's Telecaster and turned it into a lefty. Basically, it's a pretty funky looking guitar. I'll say this: you can see it, you can recognize it from a mile away. It's a funky look. Don't take my word for it. Scott says, I have a cheap Fuzz. I don't like it. It's noisy. Yeah, this Fuzz is kind of noisy too. I'm still trying to find the sweet spot, or maybe I'll just have to get a noise gate type of device to keep it quieter. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are wrapping things up here. Here's something that you guys didn't tell me, and I'm glad that if you caught this little mistake on my part and you were too nice to tell me. A few weeks ago, we did that great blues song called Key to the Highway. And I went through and I taught you guys how to play Key to the Highway, and it was our play along song. And that was on Livestream 77 a few weeks ago. Little did I know, I had already done Key to the Highway, Livestream 52. I can't wait to compare. I wonder how I taught it on that live stream. So yeah, so Key to the Highway got two live stream appearances. Live stream 77 a few weeks ago and live stream 52. And I didn't know I did that twice. Now I do. And you guys were just too polite to tell me. So thank you. Thank you for being so polite. But I did not know that. Anyways, now I know. I haven't gone back to look at it, but I wonder how I presented it the first time. I don't even, my life is a blur, Okay. Who's in town? We'll end on, I'm going to wrap up in a minute. Who's in town this week? Someone who's so cool. And I'm going to put links to a couple of this guy's videos in the description of this live stream. Across the street at the Katharine Hepburn Cultural Center, a stone's throw, a snowball's throw right over there. I'm calling him the king of ukulele, the king of ukes, Jim Beloff. Jim Beloff is a uke expert. And he's doing a thing Sunday, February 2nd, so a week from tomorrow, over there, 1 p.m. for ages 10 and over. It's a big, get to know the uke event. It's like a big uke lesson. So in case you're in the Connecticut area, Sunday, February 2nd at 1 in the afternoon, Jim Beloff, also known as Jumpin' Jim, guy has written so many ukulele songbooks and instructional books. He is involved in a great uke company that makes ukes called Flukes and Fleas. Jim's company is called Flea Market Music. Anyways, Jim Beloff, Beloff. How cool is he? I will tell you how cool he is. And I know I've told you this story before. I'm going to tell it again. He's so cool that George Harrison went to Jim's house. George Harrison, long story short, knew that there was a ukulele expert where Jim used to live in California. He lives here in Connecticut now. And George Harrison, long story short, said, "Can I come over to your house and hang out with you?" And did it. And Jim has a photograph to prove it. So when George Harrison comes and hangs out with you because you share an interest, that's pretty cool. So that's Jumpin' Jim Beloff. That's who's in town at the theater across the street doing a big ukulele lesson presentation. Sunday, February 2nd, 1 p.m. I'm going to put two YouTube links to Jim Beloff in the description of this video so you can check him out. But I highly recommend any product with Jim Beloff's name on it. Okay, I want to make sure I put that out there. Other people coming through town, an Eagles tribute band is coming through town, and the Jersey Tenors singing group. They call themselves an opera rock mashup. So that's who's coming through town. Okay, check. I'm checking stuff off. Ooh, I forgot to mention Saturday Night Live tonight. Timothee Chalamet is the host and the musical guest. It's easy to imagine that Timothee Chalamet will be playing some Bob Dylan songs on guitar tonight. The Bob Dylan social media network is losing their marbles because there's some speculation that Bob Dylan himself will be on Saturday Night Live tonight. That'll never happen in a million years. That could never happen. I probably will stay up tonight and watch it just in case it happens. I don't know. But anyways, in case you're up late tonight, Saturday Night Live hosted by Timothee Chalamet tonight. And he's also the musical guest. So that's what's going on. Okay, my friends, I'm checking off a bunch of things. Let's check in with our poll results. Now's your last chance to vote. Vote quick. The poll question tonight: is playing the guitar relaxing for you? Vast majority of you say, 73% say yes, it helps me mentally. 12% say it depends on how hard the song is. 4% say it is not relaxing, I get stressed. And 10% say other. So there you go. Hey, Rock Lobster asked a question. What video do I consider my best video? Oh, you know what? I've never thought of that before. I got 500 something videos on YouTube. What's my best one? I don't know. I'm not being modest. I have no idea. I will say that there's one I'm proud of because it's a decent video, but also because it's way more popular than I thought it would be. It's the one that I mentioned last time, which was my chord melody arrangement of the Louis Armstrong song, What a Wonderful World. It's not a guitar song, right? So I did a guitar version of it. Oh, how do I play it? How do you play it? Get yourself a copy of this book. All the tab for that song is in this book. And I made a separate video of it to go along with the exact version in this book. So I'm super proud of that video, not because there's amazing guitar playing. It's not. It's good guitar playing. You can do it. I can do it. It's nice, pretty simple guitar playing. It's my version of What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. So I'm super proud of that video because you guys really liked it. You guys in the biggest sense. Like, I can't believe that's my #1 song instructional video. I'm so proud of that. It's awesome. I'll put the link to it in the description of this video. So if you want the tab on how to play that song, I got you covered. Head over to www.song-bike.com. Get yourself this ebook. It's an electronic book full of 30 songs in the chord melody style. Love this book. It does not come in the mail. I know this looks real to you. What you get instantly is a PDF of the whole book that comes to your email address instantly when you buy the book. 30 songs, including, let's see here, in no particular order, alphabetical order: Old Lang Syne, Autumn Leaves, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, Can't Help Falling in Love, Fields of Gold, Georgia on My Mind, Let It Be, Make You Feel My Love, Moon River, Summertime, The Tennessee Waltz, What a Wonderful World, You've Got a Friend, and many, many more. Get yourself a copy of this. Anyway, so thank you, Rock Lobster, for asking. Most of those videos are a blur in my mind because I was doing one a day, and I would forget the previous day's song as soon as I started that day's song. But again, I'm just so happy that video connected with a bunch of people, a video on how to play that song. And again, I put the link to that in the description to this video. Scott says next Saturday he's going to a Blood on the Tracks tribute concert. So he probably won't be here in the live stream. That is a great reason to not be here. The famous Bob Dylan album turns 50, like right now. And so there's a bunch of attention being paid to that album. Randy says, thanks for a great show. Randy, thank you for being here. I got you. Scott is clarifying. It's not the Grammy. It's the Grammy show you've aged out of, not the awards. Yeah, I get it. I'll watch, but yeah, like what you said. Yeah, Charlie Beagle says, do the Grammy winners get free food from the main food trucks? It's a good question, all right, you guys. Hey, thank you for being here. From me to you, thank you.